Welcome into the friendly confines of Wrigley Field. These are the Pregame Keys. That's Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward, and this is the podcast. Easy for me to say. We're here. Ohio State against Northwestern. A pretty nice November day for Big Ten football. An iconic venue, and I will say that the dimensions look like maybe they're not going to be as big of an issue. So I will tip my hat off and say, knock on wood, doesn't look like it's going to be a major issue for Ohio State and the Wildcats.
No, and I think that's key number one for me. Let's just dive right in. Enjoy this. This is a unique experience for these players, for the fans that are here, for the fans watching on TV. This is pretty different. But for the guys that are here, you have to absorb it. You have to walk in and be like, holy crap, this is cool, and then play football. You can't really get caught up in how different it is for longer than, opening kickoff, really, because once the whistle blows, it's a football game. It's a Northwestern team that is outgunned, it is outmanned, and they should not be able to come in here and pose much of a threat to Ohio State. The typical asterisks, I guess, apply. It's 11 a.m. start. That's going to be different for Ohio State. It's certainly going to be an environment where I think that fans will be a little pumped up. So maybe this isn't a bring your own juice day for Ohio State because of the weirdness of the situation. But I think you got to come out early and prepare to throw a punch early, because you can't just sleepwalk into the stadium and expect to blow out Northwestern, who's as bad as they are. They play hard, they play disciplined, and they certainly are going to try and play the spoiler today. Yeah,
I would say turf conditions are still going to be something to watch. There are some waves and ridges out there a little bit, but that's the situation as it is. I was personally maybe more in tune with what the wall risk posed for Ohio State players. This one down here on the third base line had the corner that jutted out. There's about a yard of white space marking behind the end zone, and then another yard between that. So again, maybe not, as Berms pointed out throughout the week, maybe not dramatically different than what Nebraska has, what we've seen for Cincinnati games at Nippert. You have to be aware of it, but I don't think it'll actually alter maybe the Ohio State play calling down in the red zone the way that I would have imagined.
No, and you can see the right field corner, they have padded the brick wall, so there is at least some cushion there if you run into it, but it's still going to hurt.
But it is cool to, see the scoreboard. It's got the Big Ten scores on it. It's, the friendly confine stuff, the press box upstairs. I do believe that the uniqueness is worth the processes they put into it. Now, they still we'll see a football game actually executed on it and make sure that everything goes safe and sound after that. But Ohio State will be playing without some guys who are key due to injury already. The most surprising of that would be Mitchell Melton. He did get banged up a little on that pump block play last week against Purdue, but he continued to play through that. Didn't look like that was going to be maybe a lasting concern for him. But if Ohio State is going to use the jack position today, which I thought they definitely would, and build out what they did a week ago, they'll have to do that without Mitchell Melton in that role.
Mitchell may not be a guy that we think of in the same vein as Tyleik Williams or Donovan Jackson early in the year, or Lathan Ransom, for example, guys that we've said, if they can't go, don't play them. If they're not 100%, don't play them. But you're getting ready to head into a top 5 game against Indiana next week, provided you take care of business today. So anybody that's on the cusp, anybody that's on that borderline of maybe it's not 100%, then you don't go out. And so, again, especially for a guy like Mitchell Melton, who's had a number of leg issues in his career, on a field where you're uncertain about the turf, I don't think that that's something you mess around with. So it will be interesting if it changes the Ohio State defensive approach. I think it opens up a door for C.J. Hicks to have an opportunity if they want to deploy the jack a little bit more today. As we were talking about last night at dinner, I would just throw Caden Curry out there, but I'm not in charge. And I don't know if he's practiced it at all, but I do know that he's the type of player that would be wrecking some offenses from that way. But other than that, do you look at, again, knock on wood somewhere. If you got some at home, knock on it. It's November 15th, man. This team is about as healthy as anybody in the country, and you hope that you come out of this feeling the same way.
Yep, Tyleik Williams is available for Ohio State. Will Kazmarek out again this week. Seems like there are arrows pointing in the direction that he could be ready for Indiana a week from now, but he will not play against Northwestern. Aaron Scott is out. Calvin Simpson-Hunt is out. Reese Stocksdale is out. And then, of course, the season-ending injuries to Josh Simmons and TC Caffey. That's the full injury rundown. So you threw out a key. We got into the status report. What else is out there for you, Berm?
I think really this is about just establishing the line of scrimmage. Northwestern, they had a week off heading into this game, so they're going to be trying some different stuff to get to the left side of the Ohio State offensive line. It's just about Donovan Jackson and Carson Hinsman being on the same page and making sure that when they see stunts, when they see twists, when they see different blitzes that they haven't maybe seen on film yet from Northwestern, that they don't turn into sack turnovers. And that's what we've seen in the last couple of years, especially with Donovan Jackson. When he's been confused, it almost always ends very, very poorly for Ohio State. And now that you're at left tackle, you just have to make sure that even if it means a 10-yard holding penalty, you just get that guy on the ground instead of letting him hit your quarterback. So I don't think that will be a huge issue all day. I don't think Northwestern has the types of athletes to really go out and push the issue, but they're going to have something new up their sleeve. So for Ohio State, it's just about coming out and playing your game. Don't get caught up trying to worry about what they're doing different. This environment compared to 2 years ago in Chicago, this is like a Bahama vacation.
Ohio State should be able to throw the football today.
This is like a Bahamas vacation compared to what we went to 2 years ago at Ryan Field. So come out and play your game. Don't allow yourself to get worried about what Northwestern does, because they cannot play with you for 60 minutes.
Wind's currently blowing in a little bit, so there's not going to be any home run balls out to right field. So
yeah, I mean, you might get one up in the air and hit the left center field, but you got to really hit it.
Well, the great thing about playing football in a baseball stadium is, like, you can actually hit a home run going back towards the third baseline. Unique setup for that. They can do that, and I think, take those shots. I talked this week about running the football and getting out of this game as quickly as possible. I think overall that's what Ohio State will do, but you don't have to lead with that. Northwestern's pass defense is porous. We've talked so much, too much maybe, about deep balls and Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate, and I think there's going to be a very deliberate effort to get Carnell Tate involved and into the end zone. Ryan Day talked about this on his coach's show on Thursday. Carnell coming back to Chicago, Ohio State wanting to win this game for him and everything that he's been through with his life and the tragedy there. So, look, get that done early. If you can get Will Howard out of the game, then you can get Carnell and Jeremiah and Emeka out of the game too, and then you can start pounding on the ground if you want. But I take one or two of those shots early, because Northwestern is not equipped to stop Ohio State.
There's no Greg Newsome on the field for Northwestern this year. I believe they're 99th in the country in pass defense, but they're also like 130th in the country in total offense. So this is a team that, if the Buckeyes just do what they're supposed to do, you should be able to naturally get your guys out of this game early. But I do think that means throwing the ball, getting Will Howard going early, and letting the Buckeyes offense just steamroll this team. Because for the last couple of weeks, we have seen the offense play like efficiently, but not really explosively. And I would like to see that today.
Yeah, it's almost,
because I want to put that on tape for Indiana. That's what I'm saying. Like, you got to put Indiana in a mindset like, hey, we can't just go out there and blitz like crazy, because they can hit those deep shots.
Sometimes I think Ohio State acts like, well, that the explosiveness is possible. Like, you have to be prepared for it. And they're just like, but we're not going to do that. You just have to be aware of it. And maybe today is one of those games where they're content not to take those shots. I can understand that. They know what's looming with Indiana and Michigan, and then if you win those games, a massive showdown with Oregon. The next 3 weeks should be much more physically demanding and in-game schematically challenging than what Northwestern poses. So we've seen these games before. Nobody ever wants to go through the Purdue week or the Northwestern week and say, well, Ohio State's a 30-point favorite. They should just play as bland and vanilla as possible. Like, they should take these shots and dominate. I don't think Ohio State ever really pays attention to that, because they are more focused on the big picture for what's looming in the next 3 weeks and beyond for the college football playoff. So, if that's what we see, I would understand it, and I wouldn't judge that. Now, if it's 21-7, like 2 years ago, in these conditions, I would probably be a little bit more on edge about that.
Well, because that means you're not playing with any attitude. That means you're not playing with like a passion. Ohio State, we've seen Travion Henderson run like a madman all year long. We've seen Quinshon Judkins at times get bottled up. I just want to see those two guys, however many opportunities they get today, I want to see them go out and make sure that they're making Northwestern feel them. And I have no doubt Trey Henderson is going to bring that. I do want to see that out of Quinshon Judkins a bit. So however you get there, I think, is up to you. Ohio State has a sort of a choose-your-own-adventure path to doing that, because there are so many ways to getting them the ball. But Those two guys are important to me in this game. I think it's relevant heading into the Indiana, Michigan, Oregon, assuming that you have that triumvirate ahead of you. Like, I think you want to get those guys some confidence going, especially Quinshon Judkins, who had, 10 carries for 30 yards or something in 3 of the last 4 games. So
now I will look, because I think it was Tuesday before practice, Quinshon was out getting some extra work catching the football, and it was 2 hours before practice began. He still had his hand in a glove and taped up. Something to keep an eye on. He came back.
Yeah.
He's always healthy and he's confident. It may not have been just that simple. I don't know if that's playing directly into the workload, but you're trying to manage that to get through this stretch so that he is fully healthy. I don't know. There's only so much information we're ever going to get about injuries, but I took note of that. I think it's maybe still something to keep in mind when it comes to Quinshon at this point in the year, but we'll see what that means for him in Wrigley Field against Northwestern. Kickoff is approaching quickly. First pitch, not sure who's throwing it out. There is a baseball flying in there, so then maybe they'll have
surprised to hear that.
A little ceremony coming in here. But
Taylor Swift, first pitch today, folks.
She'll be here.
Yep.
It's exciting. Burn will
She
get
loves football now.
She does. She loves baseball too, I think. And look, you guys were right. This is very cool to be in Wrigley Field for Ohio State and Northwestern. Hopefully everything goes smoothly from here on out. And afterwards we'll be, I don't know where we'll be. Somewhere over there.
We'll try to have the post-game press conference. I doubt it will happen.
We will not be streaming the post-game press conference in the batting cage. I think that's impossible, but we're going to have notebook. We're going to have snap judgments, and we're going to have everything else outside of the press conference once this game is done here. Ohio State against Northwestern, November, Big Ten, Wrigley Field. Enjoy the game, folks. He's Berm. I'm Austin. So long.